So for this presentation, I've decided to look at the RA program here on campus and how it can be improved. So the biggest issues that I've seen have been how duty is ran and how safe RAs feel during this, as well as RAs' overall safety and a clear hand guide, as well as more hands-on training. So I sent out a survey to my fellow RAs, and in the first question I asked is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how safe do you feel doing rounds? 40% of my entire group that I surveyed gave a 1, meaning that they don't feel as safe as they should when on rounds. For the next question, I asked, how safe do you feel as an RA on campus in general? And 60% answered a 5, meaning it's middle of the graph. So it's not perfect, but it could be improved. And the final question I asked is, do you think RAs need a handbook? Where 80% said yes and 20% just said maybe. So leaning more towards that we need a written hand guide that we're able to look back on for certain protocols, as well as anything that we might not be completely sure about. So duty and rounds. Duty /rounds is the time frame where RAs go from building to building inside of their zone, checking it out, seeing if there's any safety issues, if residents are having any issues, if there's any sort of maintenance that we need to look at, or as well as like cleanliness in general. Depending on the time of day or zone that you're in, this can go from 1 time a night to 2 times a night when you're on rounds. During this, you also have the duty phone, which kind of can ring whenever the phone goes off, as well as we have keys to all the buildings in our zone. One round that I had to deal with a fight of 2 male residents in another dorm, and there has been some scenarios where I don't feel that I was properly trained well enough to deal with. This goes into the safety concerns. RAs are walking late at night from around 10 o'clock to midnight. While I don't think that Mary Baldwin is an unsafe campus, we do have lights, but it is a little unsettling as a female walking from where I am in Hilltop all the way to Woodson in the dark at around 11:30 at night, where I don't see anyone, but it's just very unsettling. There's been fights with residents, especially when it's 2 female RAs dealing with males fighting. It's very difficult for us to deal with it, and sometimes campus security doesn't get to these situations as fast as we'd like. I have waited about 35 minutes during one fight for the campus security to get there, and by that time the 2 that were involved in the incident were already gone. And the person on call or the area coordinator doesn't always pick up the phone in the first ring. So sometimes we could be waiting a little longer to get our boss to come check out a scenario that we might need more help with. The handbook. Currently, there is none. I would like something more in the style of the V-Will record. It doesn't need to be as detailed or as large, but something that we're able to look back at and go, well, since we did find alcohol in this resident's room, we need to follow this certain procedure. Or if there is something where a resident isn't having the best mental health, we can go, these are the steps we need to follow to stay on the side of caution. And there needs to be same rules across the board. Sometimes there's confusion if I go to a different area coordinator for how I should take care of a certain scenario, and there's just a lot of confusion currently in the status quo. So yeah. And then training. Training is more of a lecture style during August. With it being December now, it's a lot harder to retain as much as I did in August now and remember exactly how to follow every single protocol. So having more training throughout the year, besides just August and January when we come back, being able to have kind of a refresher, or even, as I've previously talked about, having a handbook to look back on. And we need to have more hands-on so the info can kind of stick in our head more than just being told exactly what to do. And we need to have better crisis management. Right now, there's barely any kind of discussion on if a student is suicidal, what we're supposed to do, if a student's having a hard time, what we're supposed to do, if there's any sort of crisis scenario, what we're supposed to do. So future recommendations I would have is changing duty. So it's done either in your building or done more safely, so that RAs can either feel safer when they're doing rounds or can have better optimization of their time. Because I know everyone on my hall, and if I see someone that's not supposed to be there, then I know my residents. If I'm in another dorm and say we're having the same COVID issue where we're not supposed to have guests in the hall, then it's more difficult for me to recognize faces of who's supposed to be there or not. I would also like to see a clear handbook, as well as different kinds of training to handle things such as crises, besides just your regular roommate conflicts. Thank you.